the virtual mode than in a physical mode that we were used to. So welcome again to this exciting journey on business excellence. And I'll share the screen from now on, and we'll take you through about an hour of presentation followed by Q&A. Just a minute. Is the screen visible? Is the screen visible?
No, not
now?
yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Now? Is it visible?
I think it start. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Just a minute. I'm not able to. Yeah, it's fine now. Okay. So how we will structure this program today is we'll try to understand what do we essentially mean by excellence, and within that we'll try to understand what are the characteristics of excellent companies, and followed by why do we need to talk about business excellence now? Is it so relevant now than before? And then we'll get into the brass tacks of what these elements are which constitute business excellence, and then we will look at the various enablers of business excellence, which are basically the grassroots things that we all know of: processes, measures, results. And then later on we'll discuss, we'll have an interaction with you all to understand and how we can engage with you all to take this journey on business excellence forward. And the entire aspect of change management. As we know, we are talking about right now, if you have gone through the introduction that has been circulated, it's basically trying to address a cultural dimension wherein we are looking at various dimensions of business and how we can integrate them into what this framework of excellence is all about. So, so welcome once again, and I'm sure many of you are running companies of various scales, and so a likely message that you would like to get across to your employees, a typical message wherein you are aspirational in the sense that you are not running an organization for today. You're running an organization for the future and maybe for many years to come. And so that's where you would like to pass on this message to your employees, that we are here together to make an institution rather than a business which maybe it's not there tomorrow, but we are trying to build a great institution. And what are those characteristics? So you are telling your employees that you should keep learning and changing. You want to equip them with the right capabilities. You want them to be more proactive rather than reactive, to anticipate the future and prepare oneself for it. And then you're looking at not just merely meeting performance requirements, but you're trying to go beyond, exceeding those requirements, and then being a market leader from wherever you are. And then you're talking about growth, and then operational excellence, and therein we bring in this term excellence. And you want to convey the message that we need to strive together to be an excellent organization. So this is a typical message as a CEO of a company or an owner of a company you would like to get across, because that's where you would like to engage your people with. Okay, now consider this from the side of the employee now. Now, for the lack of, this is a typical exercise which you could possibly give in a classroom environment, wherein the people would be asked to understand this dream company is all about, and is it really a company that you aspire to work for? So, given this being organized in a virtual mode, we'll not spend time trying to get this done in a participative mode. I'll just help you guide you through some of the letters in the blue font, which talks about basically characteristics of a great company. On the very face of it, a company which has a sense of pride and energy, then they are the leaders, and the rest of the industry follows. They proactively try to get to the customer, and they are basically, the customers need not come back to them. So there is a very aggressive sales front which they have. They keep on improving their internal matrix. There is a good team spirit in the company, and so on and so forth. If you have the time to read through it, it's a very interesting thing, interesting piece. And then the question that I pose in front of you is this really a company to work for? Okay. So the company, this picture that I've painted looks a very rosy picture, but yet there are many loopholes in this company, and there are many things that can be possibly improved upon. So if you get into details, you can possibly get those loopholes, and then work to plug those loopholes to really make it a great company. So what are you trying to drive at? We are actually trying to drive at what is basically a difference between being excellent or excellence and perfection. Excellence you can reach for, but perfection is God's business. God in his own limitless wisdom has not made man perfect, but he has given him the intelligence and the determination and wherewithal to aim for perfection, to strive for perfection. So this very strive that you have for perfection is the key to excellence. The very fact that you're trying to have a better tomorrow than what it is today is what is this excellence all about. So no one can be perfect. And once you have that humility to understand that you are not perfect, you can actually strive to make improvements in your work life, in your day-to-day life, as the case may be. And that therefore gives you the opportunities to learn and improve. Okay. Now, when we talk about excellence, there is an umbrella of excellence, an umbrella which I'll try to create here and paint before you, beginning with the grass level of personal excellence. And what do you mean by personal excellence? Personal excellence is a journey which you undertake for yourself. And unless you do this, you cannot talk about excellence on a larger scale. So personal excellence is like things like, these are some famous quotes. If you just do personal excellence in Google, you'll get several quotes on personal excellence. I just picked up a few of them. You can just read through it. While I just try to explain in a very short manner, this personal excellence is all about trying to exceed your own limitations. And the case in point which comes to my mind immediately, and which you will all be in sync with, is the current the match cricket that the Indian team with raw inexperienced players, each one had a struggle of their own, and the way they beat and have come out victorious. So isn't it someone who is striving to get across his own limitations of mindset and therefore trying to excel? Similarly is the case at the same time when Joe Biden took over as presidency. So if you have read through the struggles that he has gone through life, and at the age of 78, he gets to the highest pinnacle of success as the president of the United States. So isn't it that excellence, that the personal excellence that drives these people forward? So excellence is basically a drive that comes from within. It's not for someone else to notice, but it's for your own satisfaction and efficiency. So I'm reminded of a tale from ancient times in the ancient city of Rome. So there was this sculptor who was building certain statues of God to be put on a pedestal which is there in front of the temple. Now, a passerby happened to pass by, and he sees that this sculpture has made so many similar types of statues, one after the other. But there is only one place up there for one statue to be put. So he gets curious and he asks the sculpture, why is this that you are making so many statues of the same God, and there is only one place where you'll be putting only one statue? So he says that, see, this particular statue that you look at has a scratch here, and this particular statue that you look here has a minor crack here. And so if I have to put some statue for a temple of God, it has to be perfect. And that's where what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get a perfect statue in place. So that's his own driven personal excellence, spirit of personal excellence. So I hope you get the essence of what personal excellence is. And unless you have this as your groundwork, we cannot really talk about excellence in our businesses and wherever, whatever we are, leading. So now, if you had a look at this next part of the umbrella is operational excellence, and then the next part is performance excellence. I'll try to get across the difference between all these in my subsequent slide. And then comes organizational excellence, and logically this what will build up to business excellence. Now let's understand these three terms: operational, performance, and organizational excellence. Operational excellence is something which has to do beginning with the customer. Like if you have to excel in the various operations that you perform in an organization, it has to have a very strong customer focus, and that's where you initiate and then come to your robust processes which help you meet the enable the customer focus. And then comes the very learning and improvement environment that you create on your operations. And all this is a virtuous loop which you have to keep on maturing to what is actually what operational excellence is all about. But performance excellence is different. So what is the other dimension that comes in performance excellence? So the next dimension, you cannot be a judge for your own performance. So who is the judge? The judge is the customer. So it begins with the customer and it has to end with the customer. And if you have delivered value to the customer, you are actually doing what is called performance excellence. The next one is organizational excellence. And here is your role, the leadership role that one plays. Whereas you just talked about the execution excellence, and there is the driver, which is your leadership, which drives this organization, the execution excellence, and then ensures that there is the loop of learning throughout the organization, which will keep on improving this. So that's the virtuous loop again. So this is organizational excellence. And then comes the final one, which is the overarching excellence umbrella, is the business excellence is all about. Now here, let's take some examples that we have in front of us. Like companies like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, IBM, Intel, we have all heard about these companies. And these companies are great companies. But all of them had a very humble beginning. And these companies are there for years on and on. They're still there. They're evergreen. So their humble beginning has been, basically, they were all single product companies, if you look at. And then what happens in a single product company, there is this cycle of growth, maturity, and death, which happens to all of us in life itself. So this is a product life cycle, as they call it. So you are all aware of this. But then these companies did something else. They went on, and they actually converted that PLC, which is product life cycle, into a permanent life cycle. And how did they go about doing it? So what they did was a constant inspiration from within, which kept on making them innovate and getting inputs from customers to bring in more and more new products. And that's what they did. And when we have one product overlapping another product, you have a virtuous path of high performance. And that's what these companies have done for themselves to create a path of sustainability over the years. And one characteristics of excellent companies, therefore, is their ability to sustain and grow over a long period of time. So excellence is all about sustainability. And let's come and have a look at the next dimension, which is values and value. Now we are all aware of what value is and what values is. Values, and what we need to understand is what values are. Now, say for example, what we are trying to, what we aim for generally in our organizations, and especially if you are listed, what you would like to do. You want to improve shareholder value, isn't it? Simple. The market share should increase. The share value should increase. And when you're talking about that is basically extolling the virtue of commercial value. That is, value is an estimation of what you're worth. But is that all? No, companies which have command a very high market share has something else behind it. And that is what is termed as values. Because these companies have some core set of values which sustain them and have made them grow over the years. And so therefore, you need to understand this singular word value and the plural word values. There is a big difference between the two. And we do understand that at the end of it is value, but then values is what will make you go there. It's the values that will sustain you and make you deliver value. So that never lose sight of values. So therefore now we are more or less prepared and tuned to understand this business excellence, this entire business of business excellence. So one we talked about is values. So that's the ethical way of doing business. And then the sustainability of the corporation, the organization that we lead. And how do we do it? If you have to ensure ethical way of doing business, you have to be fair to all the stakeholders that you do business with. So by stakeholders, we know that we all talk about customers, shareholders, employees, suppliers, the community as such. And then do we restrict ourselves only to financial parameters? Or do we go beyond when you are taking decisions? Do we look at other non-financial parameters also in your day-to-day decisions? And do we restrict ourselves to short-term on a day-to-day basis? Or do we ensure that we keep the long-term perspective also in mind? And therefore, when you talk about the long-term perspective, do we actually see a vision for the company? Do we have a strategy? So all these are the small elements that will make up what is business excellence. Now, research has actually been done, and to understand what some of the core values these excellent companies have. And these are basically crystallized form of that research. And anything that you can think of apart from that is likely to fit in there. So these are therefore generalized core values, as they call, which are supposed to be embedded in an excellent organization. This is basically the lifeblood of the organization. So I need not read them. It's all on your screen. We'll of course, try to take you through. If you have any doubts, we'll come back to this again. So these are core values to sum up, which any organization, any excellent organization, the hallmark of any excellent organization would have. Okay, now a DNA of an excellent company would be, if you put these ingredients into a funnel, a very strong obsession for the customer, a very robust process orientation, a high performance culture, a culture of improvement and innovation, operational excellence, and then finally leading to sustained results. When you put all these to the funnel and in the crucible that you collect, that crystallized form is basically that spirit, that is a spirit of excellence. So that's the DNA of all excellent organizations will have. Now, typically, and I'm sure this is where you will all agree with me. You all the MSMEs in a way have their own challenges, and the challenges could be as things like, trying to get capital, availability of credit, availability of talent, availability of resources, so various forms, the challenges come in various forms. But then at the core of it are some of these very basic things that we need to understand how to run the business as it grows in scale and complexity. And you need to bring in, some elements which are a little different from the way we have been doing things. How do we integrate various operational? We have been pretty good at operational measures, trying to the operational management. But how do we also bring in various strategic management and integrate them, weave them, so that we can hope and aspire to have a sustainable, competitive organization in the future. And as I told you earlier, financial and operational parameters, and how do you actually develop a roadmap going ahead for transformation, how to evaluate the effectiveness. You do a lot of improvements in your organization, and do we really measure them, and do we understand what they are leading to? So the integration of improvement initiatives, and the overall aspect of change management in an organization. So when we are talking about business excellence, we are actually talking about a change in the way we do things. So there will be a process of change management that you will have to undergo in your organization to ensure that we take a path forward which is different from the one that we have been taken so far. Okay, now why we are talking about business excellence route? So again, taking in and reinforcing from the previous slide. Hello, is it okay? Am I audible?
You can go ahead, please.
Yes.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay. So we are trying to understand the way we solve our problems. Now, we have been typically used to solving problems by what is called the iceberg syndrome. So what is that iceberg syndrome? So typically an iceberg that floats in the ocean has a 1/8 or 1/9, which floats above the surface of the water. So we think that if we chop this off, our problem is solved. But no, again, another 1/8, surfaces. So that's the way the problems keep on recurring if you are trying to solve basically based on the iceberg syndrome. So what we therefore need to understand is the business scenario has very complex cause and effect relationships, and it is not very simplistic problem solving that can be put in place. So for example, let's take a case in point. Suppose you are trying to look at loss of market share. Now there would be a knee-jerk reaction. Okay, now if I have to improve market share, I need to get my sales force, I need to sell more aggressively my products. So this is something which could be an immediate solution, and it can give you results for the time being. But do you think it can be sustained? No, it cannot be. For long-term solutions, you need to understand various cause and effect relationships, and then address all the loopholes within that. Say, for example, I'll just take you to this slide, which actually shows you various, cause and effect relationships across various dimensions of business: financial, customer, processes, learning and growth. So if you have to look at market share, where market share figures, and how you address market share could be an entire web of relationships just below it, which will have to be addressed some way or the other to really improve your market share. So it may not be just improving sales which will give you results. So you're obviously that's an obvious solution, but may not be the long-lasting solution. So we'll come back to this on another aspect. So we'll go back again to the slide which we are trying to look at. So that's the integrated problem-solving approach that we need to take from now on if you're trying to look at business excellence route of the journey. And then what you have to do is you have to go beyond just problem-specific medicines. A doctor prescribes, suppose you are having a headache, the doctor prescribes a medicine for headache. So if you keep on having headaches, he keeps on giving you that same medicine, or maybe increases the dose. So it isn't so. So we are now looking at trying to understand the cause, the root cause, and then taking you on a general health improvement program that will ensure that you don't have this headache problem. And what was giving rise to the headache, and then get rid of this forever. So if you can really diagnose the problem well enough. So therefore you are able, the next one is basically you are trying to assess yourself on a maturity scale of your own processes, and then you get a feedback to take it to the next level, and you chalk out a roadmap to take it to the next level of maturity. So these are these are why you need to understand what is how you take the business excellence forward. So okay, now we introduced some concepts here. We have already talked about values, and I'm sure you're we know what processes are. All processes that we have or we drive in the company has to have values embedded in them. That's the key to the characteristics of the business excellence. And when you're doing it, we say that you have the right approach. So approach is the term that we are trying to introduce here. While we are aware of values and processes. Now, processes, taking this processes leads to practices. So we have been familiar with ISO 9000 and stuff like that, wherein we actually deploy processes down to what we call as standard work practices, SOPs, etc., which are nothing but the processes at a granular level at the shop floor level. So that's practices. And when you're doing this deployment, it's called, basically the word is called deployment. We are actually putting them into practice, the processes into practice on the ground floor. So, and then the practices are what will ensure outcomes. And therefore, the term that we introduce in business excellence is results. So approach, deployment, and results are the key to what we call the learning loop, because once we have these in place, we are constantly evaluating them and trying to improve. So this is where the basic business excellence concepts begin. So there are these dimensions of business excellence. We look at them subsequently, and say beginning from leadership, strategic planning, customer focus, workforce, process, and business results. So there are many business excellence frameworks to actually choose from, and many business excellence frameworks are also available for MSMEs nowadays. So for large scale, for big companies, the TQM Deming model has been put in place. Malcolm Baldrige, which is their EFQM. In India, the Rajiv Gandhi National Quality Award, the Tata Business Excellence Award, the CIA EXIM, the Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Award. So all these are frameworks which are available. And again, let me reiterate, these frameworks are nothing but a set of guidelines, basically well-researched guidelines of which are basically best practices, compilation of best practices, which is in a non-prescriptive mode. And it's up to you whether you'd like to implement and to what extent you want to implement them. And in a way, they tell you that if you actually commit yourself to the some of these guidelines, and over a period of time, you will see results coming, because that's what the business excellence tries to drive at. So it helps in developing a consistent understanding about performance excellence, provides a basis for evaluation, and then institutionalizes the process of improvements that you have. So it has been researched that excellent companies have seen growth which is more than what their competitors have by using some of these models. Now, some best practices in business excellence, some companies which we are all aware of. Back home, we have in the Tata Group, many companies have adopted the model, and they are all doing well in a way. Of course, there will be notwithstanding results for a certain year, but on the overall, these companies have done well. basically adopting some of the practices of business excellence. And public sector companies have also taken to this in a big way. And as I told you, you can actually, Google to understand and find out. Many MSMEs have actually taken up various, excellence models also. Now, look at the business excellence framework, which I told those consists of these 7, elements. So if you look at leadership, strategic planning, customer focus, they are the initiators, they are the drivers. So you have to have a leadership, you have to have a strategic planning focus which thinks beyond today. And then naturally the first drivers or the inputs that you get to run your organization is the customer. So they form the driving, the motive power. And what actually, finally, sorry, the one that provides the motive power is the workforce and your operations, and which gives to results. So then there is something else, which is the umbrella, which is the organization profile. It's basically talking about certain key business factors which are typical to your organization. So suppose your organization is in the electronic industry. So there will be certain things which will be typical to your organization, and those are called the key business factors, because this will decide the nature of your leadership, the nature of customer that you have, the strategic planning process, the workforce. All this will actually be driven from what is called the key business factors. So they are unique to your organization. So just to take you through somewhat key business factors are. So strategic focus, leadership, the elements of leadership, the management, the planning process, they are all very unique to your organization. The people that you have, the staff resources that you have, they are people also a part of the key business factors. So operations, marketing, finances, the various challenges that you have, they all form a part of key business factors that is unique to you. Now there is another term which we introduce here is critical success factor. Now what are these critical success factors? They're essentially those factors which differentiates you from the other and create success for you. Say for example, I'm from an automobile background. So what are those key success factors for an automobile company? The new product introduction process, for example. If you do this well, you are sure to get success in the marketplace. So this is something which differentiates you from the others. So that's critical to an automobile company. So a critical success factor is something which is unique to the industry for its success. So similarly, customer relationship management in a big way, of course, while it applies to others as well, but we do consider in automobiles, say after sales, all these things are very, very important. Rather than selling a vehicle, these become more important in trying to help us, gain market share. So customer relationship management becomes very critical to us. And so similarly, at the operational level, how to improve, how operational efficiencies are improved. So they become a very critical success factor for an automobile industry. So I hope you get the difference between what business factors are and critical success factors are. Quickly, just some of the terms that we are all, I'm sure we all lead the various companies, and as leaders and what maybe as role models you would like to, you would have also role models of leadership. So these are some of the characteristics a leader should have. These are again well researched, and some of these are characteristics which are basically a leader should drive in the organization. And if you translate that into the organizational context, so a leader sets the vision, he is able to see far into the future. He creates an environment where performance. He certainly sets standards of performance and sets standards for ethical behavior. He directs the organization. He also communicates. This is a very important part of leadership, an important role of leadership, and constantly engages with people. He demonstrates by actions. He leads by example. He is also developing people so that the organization lasts for a long, long time, because you need leaders to take forward. And then he's constantly evaluating the organization. These are the characteristics of leadership. And the model is basically nothing but talking about various processes and guidelines of how to do all these and how to make the leadership processes more robust. Now, so there is an important dimension which we talk about in vision. And what is a vision? Is a future. It's like the pole star that we pole star in the sky, which used to, in the earlier days, used to navigate the ships in the ocean. Now, for anyone, there has to be an aim in life. A typical question in an interview: what is your aim in life? So, are you rudderless, or do you have a direction towards which you are trying to aim for? And that's called the vision. And a vision provides the energy for the organization to work towards, and it energizes the entire workforce. And it therefore is a one important dimension of leadership, wherein he sets the vision for the organization. Some various vision statements you can, the one that I am familiar with, the Tata Motors one, wherein we are trying to strive to be among the top 3 commercial vehicle manufacturers. So good business leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion. So the next one is strategic planning. Now, what is strategic planning all about? Is basically trying to anticipate what the future is likely to be, the ability to predict the future which is likely to emerge. Now, again, no one can really predict. No one is an astrologer who's running a business. Otherwise, astrologers would be the best people who can run a business. No, it isn't that. It's basically trying to, keep your eyes and ears open to all the senses that are there in the environment, trying to, perceive how those changes are coming across in the environment, and what you need to do currently to gear up to that future. So, for example, we are all, within the next 10 years, we will be, phasing out, fuel run, the conventional fuel run vehicles, and we'll be, going in for the, say, the electric vehicles, the non-renewable, energy sources. So, if we know that this is the kind of future that is likely to emerge, shouldn't we be preparing ourselves right now? So that's what vision is the strategic planning process is all about. Understanding the future, anticipating what the changes are likely to come, understanding what you are capable of right now, and do we see how you need to gear up your current capabilities and to meet those emerging scenario, and also ensure that you are also meeting the competitive environment, because everyone is trying to gear up for the same, scenario. So strategic planning, there are 2 dimensions. One is the entire planning process, wherein there are various tools available, which the model will help to guide you in the capability analysis, the SWOT processes, and then coming out of that are basically the strategic challenges, advantages, and how you actually set those objectives, your strategic objectives, to carry forward based on the challenges and advantages, and how you then finally deploy those strategies, and which is the implementation of strategy. Now, there is something called blind spots. So here is something where no organization can say that they are fully capable to do this process themselves. Therein outside help is required. You might there are many industry journals which you can refer to. You refer to consultants. Many organizations take the help of consultants, which will help you to guide you through some of these other possibilities which you are not aware of, or you are blindsided to it. So that's where blind spots happen, and they are very critical to your success and strategic planning. So again, we come back to this slide to understand now, when we're talking about strategic planning, is it a top level game wherein the leadership, as we initially talked about, that leadership has a vision, and he sets a goal for the future, and he therefore does a strategic planning. So, when we look at this, you'll see again the web of relationships, in the entire, organization, which is cutting across various financial, customer, process, and human resource dimensions. So, for the success of your strategic planning process, you need to address all these down below. Suppose you want to improve shareholder value, and that we talked about earlier, market share. You can see that various, the elements which are listed down below, in some way or the other, has to address create opportunities for improvement for the level up, the level at the higher up levels. So therefore, there is a very strong cause and effect relationships, and you also therefore need to have metrics. And from herein, the need for performance management system, develops. The model also talks about a very strong performance management system, and which is nothing but is the deployment of the strategic planning process itself. Because once you start measuring them, you can measure your ultimate goal that you set out with in terms of the process of strategic planning. So ultimately, that's what you would like to, measure, and which is your measure of the ultimate success. Now, coming to the next, just to take this, forward a little, look at the top level drivers of shareholder value. Now, there are two dimensions. One is cost efficiency and one is revenue growth. And under that, you'll have, things like improving the cost structure, increase asset utilization, expand revenue opportunities, enhance customer value. So all this is what? Basically nothing but the underlying processes. And how do you improve those processes and have metrics, measurables, which will help you to, evaluate and improve those processes, which will ultimately lead to your cost efficiency, revenue growth, with the ultimate deliverable of long-term shareholder value. So this is how we, delve down in the performance management system and set targets. So the entire thing, exercise of target setting, taking measures, are also a part of the business excellence, journey. So next one is the customer. The customer, as we all know, is one of the key challenges that all organizations face for the survival and ultimate success. So it's always a challenge how we understand the customer better. The customer has its own peculiarities, their own nuances. So trying to understand the customer on a day-to-day basis, trying to anticipate some of the requirements ahead of time, and then making your products and services, ensuring that you satisfy, delight the customer. Then not only selling the product, how do we establish long-term relationships with the customer? So that's the next, because it's not just satisfying your existing customer. So you have to, unless you are able to maintain relationships with your customer, maybe you will not be able to add new customers. And then therefore, how to measure and satisfaction and dissatisfaction about the customer, which will help you get insights for further improvement. Now, look at this. We talked about this extract of this from the strategy map, wherein price, quality, service, availability, etc., influences the customer. So you have a degree of satisfaction if you are able to maintain some of these. And then comes the next bigger challenge. If you are satisfying the customer, does it help you to retain customer? May not be. So there are many other dimensions which you have to do or take up to ensure that you retain the customer. And once you retain the customer becomes the advocate, maybe, to help you get more customers. So ultimately, you are also not only improving the customer's profitability, but you are improving your own market share. So that's how the magic of customer works. But it's a very challenging task to actually move from satisfaction to retention to acquisition. So this is a very familiar model which we use to explain the zones of the satisfaction and engagement. Now look at these four quadrants. What quadrant 1 One being the zone of absolute non-performance. So on this X scale is the performance dimension, and the satisfaction scale is on the vertical Y dimension. And if you see, this zone is absolute non-performance, absolute dissatisfaction. So to get to a level of satisfaction and performance, you have to meet certain basic criteria, which is called taken for granted. Now, they generally the customer won't tell you. It's like in an automobile, the vehicle should start, isn't it? If a vehicle doesn't start, then it's not a vehicle. So that's a very basic level of performance that you need to meet. But then this will not help you go anywhere. So you have to have certain requirements to be met. Like, for example, I have to, nowadays vehicles, the new cars that come out have various features but then there are basic things which are there in terms of, say, mileage, which are the things that people will look at first. Mileage, horsepower, also capacity of the vehicle. So these are things which are specified and you have to meet them. So that will give you some degree of performance. But then that may not, so you have to sustain this over and over again to climb the scale of performance. But then what is actually delight us? They are things which you may not be aware of, and you are able to get it from your product. So that's the most challenging part, and that's called the absolute wow factor. The customer is delighted because he didn't even think of. So nowadays, again, a car comes with so many features that we never dreamt of. So they are actually trying to understand the psyche of the customer, and bringing in things which the customer will absolutely be wowed. And that's where begins the journey of engagement. If you are constantly delighting the customer, you are able to engage the customer to higher levels. So now the fourth dimension, again, let me tell you, we are all talking about various processes in the framework. So we have covered 3 of them: the leadership, strategic planning, and the fourth one is now the measurement, analysis, and knowledge management. So it's as we saw the model, it's the bedrock or the foundation. So it provides it's basically nothing but the information system that you have in place, which is trying to constantly measure, analyze, and improve the various processes. And that's the entire thing about this particular category, which is talking about information. We are all aware that data is not information. So data leads to organized data leads to information, and organized information leads to knowledge management, knowledge. And that's the next point is, how do you organize that information into certain knowledge, repositories, knowledge and of knowledge in the organization, which will help you, which will enable you to make further improvements and innovation. So the entire dimension of measurement is talking about the various processes which address that. Now this is something often neglected, but we all know that human resources are very key to the success. Even if you have to impact the customer, first you have to ensure your human resources are capable enough to do it, in terms of capability, in terms of their development, in terms of their engagement, of their morale. Are you compensating and recognizing do you have that environment in which you have you regularly recognize good people, good employees? Do you create a healthy work environment, for example? Do you provide them certain benefits? Even small things can make a big difference in the way the entire human resource can side up to you to confront in the battle. So, and then how do you also therefore look at the engagement and satisfaction dimension of the workforce, your employees, which is similar to the ones that you do for customers. So if you're doing it for the customer, why not for your own employees? So this is something we are all good at. So the work systems, the processes, do we have process, do we design processes taking the customer's point of view in mind? Do we have agility in the processes? Do we look constantly at reducing cycle times? Do we have the prevention dimensions, the continuous improvement dimension in our processes? So all these are key to your process management. So if you look at this, what I'm trying to look at, if you have to, I have introduced a term called work systems and work processes. So if the P1, P2, P3 are the various processes, say in a human body, when they are all linked up, it's basically the system, the entire body system that works, interdependence of the various processes. So that's the work system that we talk about. So the process management dimension actually tries to look at the various linkages also when you talk about, rather than just a single process. So that's where the integration of when we talk about the framework, it's a very highly integrated framework. So we are all aware of what the process is. It has to have inputs, it has to have a set of activities going on in the box, outputs, measures, a regularity of performance, regularity of operation, and there is a feedback, and that's which will help you to keep on improving the process. And we have also measures which are basically effectiveness, efficiency measures, in process, end process. So these are the various measures that and whether they are preventive, detection based. So we are all aware of it. If we have our journey through the quality management processes have made us robust enough on these. So now look at some examples. Now, if you look at, say, an example like the first one, your TV is creating a problem. The dealer says it has to be attended by the company. So what do you expect? So you would expect that the company should have had a good customer complaint management system. So if you read through the others as well, for all your processes, the final impact can be actually traced to the customer. So anything within any process that you run in the organization will be ultimately impacting the customer. So therein you need to build in customer centricity in the organization, meaning that every process owner in the organization has to be aware as to how he impacts the customer through his process. So all this is again an addressable feature of the business excellence model. I'll not take you through all these. You can read through them. And now the next one, the seventh, which is the final category, is results. So all the first 6 categories we have been talking about are the processes. So ultimately processes are to lead to result. And there are various results, not only financial, but we look at customer results, you have to look at human resource results, product performance results, the various process effectiveness results, they all make up results. Now look at this chart. We monitor various results, etc. in our reviews. So let's say, for example, productivity. Over the years, the blue line shows a certain trend. Will you be happy with this trend? Certainly not. But if this trend was like the red line, certainly better. This line, the green one, the dark green, is perhaps the better, even best. Why so? This line has a fluctuating trend. This talks about an organization which is yet to get a grip of things. It's still there are waviness in so this has smoothened out. The red line has smoothened it, whereas the green line is showing a consistent upward trend. And this is what your results should be. But results by itself is not important. How you measure up to a certain target, how do you measure up to others in terms of results is equally important. So results actually have various dimensions again. So to sum up, the model actually has the foundation of the core values, and I've taken you through these 7 elements of business excellence, and which will ultimately lead to business excellence. Now coming to things which is more brass tacks in terms of implementation. Now in organizations we have deployment gaps in all aspects: leadership strategy, people, processes, data, customers, the culture issues. So there are gaps in all these. So where do you make a beginning? So nothing to be afraid of. You can make a very humble beginning, where the least you can do is show a commitment. And leadership has once the leadership shows commitment through constant communication that you are trying to change the way we work, it starts the ball rolling in the organization. So you then look at what are the small things that you can do to generate quick wins, involve people, ensure metrics are available. This is something which we have seen in many MSMEs. They are still grappling with the various measures that need to be in place. So metrics have to be started, institutionalized, and then only you can look at what is a robust performance management system over the years. And then the integration of all the improvement projects. For example, if you say that you have improved a certain process, a manufacturing process, so logically the manufacturing process has to have integration with a supplier related process. So how we have actually done similar improvements in your supplier process to really integrate your manufacturing process with the supplier process is what we talk about as an example, the integration of the various processes in there. So okay, now this is how we actually engage with organizations at various levels. Now, level 1 is an engagement where, is basically using some of the various tools for process improvement. And Six Sigma, Kaizen, Lean, TOC, statistical tools, process redesign, benchmarking. Level 2 is a high level engagement wherein, say, suppose you are aware that, say, a certain function, say a marketing function, sales and marketing function needs to be improved upon, but you don't know where to address. So that's where we can pitch in, trying to understand trying to, along with you, work out what are the possible areas of our improvement within the sales and marketing function. The various processes, are they in place? What kind of matrix? How you can improve those processes to ultimately impact your sales and marketing performance. So the next level, which is level 3, is basically theme-based. Now, when you say theme-based, say, for example, a theme is a customer. Now, if customer is the theme, it is certainly not sales and marketing. The customer dimension will have various other dimensions. For example, even leadership has an important contribution to the aspect of customer. So we look at the entirety of it all, and we have our own assessment methodology to assess your organization and give you feedback on the entire theme of customer. So you have to decide which level you want to first start off with, and then the next level is level 4. Here the level 4 is more bigger in scale, in the sense that we look at the entire business excellence process, the business excellence framework, and we try to measure you up on the business excellence framework. It's not that we'll try to take up a very high scale, very high level model and try to take you to that level immediately. Basically, it is some of the elements of the business excellence framework which we'll try to measure you up against and see if there are gaps, and then try to address those gaps and help you fill them up, and then take you to the next level. And that's the way we move forward on the journey. And the level 5 is certainly on a higher maturity scale, wherein you would like to engage with us constantly on a continual basis, maybe to put some of the business excellence practices in place as per a certain business excellence model, so that you are actually ready to actually compete for an award. Now, the benefits of the award system goes without saying, because it gives you a brand value, a brand equity is built. If you have actually able to compete for this excellence award, you get your business gets known across, and certainly it helps you to take your business forward. So that's the highest level of engagement. Okay, now how do we do it, and how do we actually interact with the organization? We actually first begin by talking and get discussion with the top management, and then understand the organization and the context in which the business operates. and naturally it has to begin with training. So there are many training programs that we have already in place, which can be run off, and these are some of these programs, beginning with the process improvement tools, then business excellence awareness programs, and business excellence implementation programs, and the various elements of the business excellence, the detailed programs with respect to leadership, strategic planning, customer focus, etc. So and then when it comes to implementation, once you think that if we are able to do this with you, then you will be actually trying to put some implementation in place, because then only the effectiveness of the training actually happens. So here we try to understand the company. We actually engage with your people by interviewing, observing things, survey questionnaires, etc., and that's the way we do our assessment. That's the assessment, prescribed assessment methodology, and based on which we give you feedback for strengths and improvements. And that's and then finally we help you take set out action plans for improvement and implement them too, and do handholding. So it's a big bang or a piecemeal approach, so that we can work that out based on your. So the things that possibly the tools that will finally end up equipping you with are the various tools of Six Sigma, Lean, TOC, as and wherever the improvement projects are on. The understanding of your own key business factors, critical success factors, laying out your performance management system, the leadership model, if it needs to be tweaked a little, we put a strategic planning process in place, and then process benchmarking, redesigning, and the reinforcing the entire customer dimensions of business. So, and then overall business problem solving, etc. Now to sum up, this journey of business excellence is basically one of change management. So we have this scale which we are aware of. There is a commitment and there is knowledge. Now, if the organization is low on commitment and low on knowledge, you tend to be cynical. But you have high on knowledge, but there is no commitment. You are basically there, but you are not actively pushing it. So the next one is you are high on commitment but low on knowledge. So you want to go ahead, but you don't know how to go about. So there is a lot of commitment, but then you are not equipped. You don't have the tools to go about implementing it. So that's the other dimension of change management. And finally, you have to build change agents who are committed, high energy levels, and good in knowledge. So this is what you need to build in an organization to take this forward. So our responsibility, if we are engaging with you, will help is basically to develop some of these change agents to take things forward in the organization, and while we do the hand holding. So lesson 2 of change management: some people make things happen. Some people stand on the sides and see things happen, and some people only say what happened. So which one of them are you? Don't wait until you are ready. So they are off to, if you see, athletes, they take off their blocks and before the whistle. So that's the agility that we should be trying to aim at. Excellent companies don't do ordinary things. They do ordinary things in an extraordinary manner. Great companies have the ability to take the initiatives to the last person in the organization. In a well-run organization, everything is intentional, it's designed. So everyone has a clear role to play. So you're not here by accident because you want to run the organization for a long term in the future. So everything has to be well designed. And this is the typical curve of change management, wherein we begin here, but then we start putting things in place and get people to agree to it and committed to it. And that's the journey of business excellence. A journey filled with fun and surprises, but at the end of it, it's quite rewarding and exciting. Thank you. So it's now open for question answers. I don't know whether I've been too fast, but I've tried to, within this about an hour, I guess, take you through this entire journey of business excellence and enumerated the business excellence framework and the need for business excellence and how to go about implementing business excellence in organizations. Hope you'll be able to benefit from it.
Yeah, Rufana, you can take over. You can ask members for question and answers.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody listened to the presentation. I hope we have questions or thoughts and concerns as the last slide suggests. Any questions from anyone?
Panna?
Yes.
So I would like to understand from Dr. Jagdish, have they started engaging with any of these MSMEs, and do they have any case studies where we will be able to get some access and information on business excellence case studies and handholding which they have done for the MSMEs?
Yeah, now if you look at Aditya Auto Products, they are all got the certification for CIA Business Excellence Award. There are some organizations, we have some case studies. I'd probably share that with the team as a mentor.
Very good to know. Aditya Auto Products in which?
Dodbalapura. Bangalore only.
Okay.
Jagdish, if you can, there is one that Rajesh is also working on. So
yeah,
you can.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now also presently there's a activities going on within the team. So we will share the details. To whoever is interested, they can get in touch. We will share the details.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yes, please. Any other questions you have got? You can ask. Otherwise, probably now we can ask now. Then I will be asking on your behalf. Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead, Dr. Jagdish.
Yeah, I'll wait for others.
Yeah.
For a few minutes. Yeah.
One question I can ask.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Now, sir, when you were speaking, the only thing I was going on thinking was that most of us are micro and small companies. So how do you think how much of time and effort we should put into these kind of things rather than core business? And how does it what do you feel? I just want your comment.
Jagdish?
Yeah, Dr. Subir, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, a nice question, Mohandas. See, the idea, the very first thing that we say when we engage with the companies is that this is not going to be a separate activity as such. So initially, of course, when we meet up, maybe we'll take some of your time. But then what we try to aim at is we ensure that it becomes a part of their work life. So small things will be introduced, which will not call for a separate set of activities called business excellence. So it has to merge with your work life. That's a seamlessly merge with the way your day-to-day work happens. So incrementally, you need to ensure that they are incorporated. It's not going to be a big bang, introduction of any of that kind. And neither is it going to be, a separate, say 5-hour a day kind of engagement. We leave everything apart to, do business excellence only. So need not worry on that front.
Okay, thank you.
To add on to that point, see, it's a journey what an organization is going to take up, because we are going to change from your micro, medium to larger organization. See, through this process, the intention, the vision, what we're going to have is to scale up our business as well, and also practice the best practices that exist and followed across the globe. So here, what happens here is the interventions will be not in a continuous handholding mode, whereas probably it's initial few days when we do a gap assessment, deciding upon the way, the roadmap, and what is the time duration we are looking at to accomplish these things. Generally, it takes maybe 3 years to 3 to 5 years. Okay, generally 3 years could be the minimum time frame what we can think of, because it should be inculcated. This practice has to be part of your day-to-day work, as Dr. Subir was talking about. So that is where our intervention can be on a monthly basis to also see what's the progress, where they got stuck, and what is that small changes, tweaking that we need to do to see to that, we start practicing these things. That's how it is going to work on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, generally, this may be a very important question as well, Doctor. Can you just tell on what is the time frame on the deployment of this business excellence?
Yeah. See, again, there need to be a bit of awareness, build up, and that's where some of these training will have to be given. So that might call for some dedicated, time off from work to build up. As I told you, there has to be some change agents which we'll have to have in the organization. And then basically, as Dr. Jagdish was saying, we'll do an initial handholding and then ensure that the change agents are able to do it. And we will kind of, monitor the progress over a time frame. Now, depending on the scale of the organization, as he rightly said, so give and takes the first, say, 4 or 5 months, you need to build up a critical mass of awareness and energy in the organization, as they call it, for things to happen. So that might take some, warm-up time, as you all know. So, a 5-6 month warm-up time will have to be given for, gradual knowledge to set in, people to, start feeling that, yes, some things need to be changed. And then the implementation, once you have people ready to, undergo this change, the implementation can happen, again, large scale organizations maybe, to get you ready to apply for a model. Yes, 3 years could be a minimum timeline. But if you want to start seeing even business results, you'll start seeing maybe a year or so, once you start, we understand what those critical areas where you need to, plug in, and you might, start feeling the business results also coming in maybe 1.5 years also, it should be good enough. But yes, on a sustained basis, you can, if you want to see progress, apply for the model. And again, not that you will get, on the very first chance, you'll get an excellence award. So overall, a 4 or 5 years span is also, a continual engagement will have to be there.
But always there could be a question on, how this could help us to grow, this model. I think probably again, it's good to touch upon that as well.
Yeah. So see, the model, by the very nature of the model, as we have seen one of the slides, which we said that improve shareholder value. And if you look at, the entire, the map, which was there, clearly showing that, the various elements in the human resource, say the processes, then the customer, and the kind of relationships that are there. So once you, start understanding these relationships and understanding how you have to have measurables, the right measures to track, and if you're able to see those results coming, and measures leads to results, and those results, once you keep tracking those results, you'll understand whether you're growing or not. So that's, see, the entire the business excellence is based on this robust performance management system. So that's where you will understand where the growth comes from. Because once you impact one, and whether that is impacting the higher level parameter or not, so all this is how you aggregate from down below to see whether actual growth is happening or not.
Hello.
Yeah, Girish. Is
Yeah.
that Mr. Girish? Yeah. Okay.
Can you share some example where this business excellence, some of the business excellence practice has improved the profitability of a business?
Yeah, see, first of all, when we talk about profitability, what we understand by the profitability of business? So improving, improving ROI, for example, would be over the years, and sustained growth on ROI maybe could be one of the measures of profitability. Now, see many organizations, I can name within the Tata organization, Tata fold itself, which are on a lower, in terms of turnover, small companies are there, which we have worked with. And, there, of course, there are various environmental, factors which might have affected, as we said, there could be one dip in a certain, graph. But overall, they are able to show the upward trend on their ROI. So there are companies which are there. I would not like to quote some of these examples. So my engagement has been mostly with Tata organizations of different scales. So they are available. So, and they have been adopting, at least 50% of the Tata Group companies have taken to this model. And naturally, they are seeing benefits of sustained growth in their business.
Okay, thank you.
You can stop sharing, Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the kind of budgeting for this actually, depending on the industry size or the complexities?
Size and complexity, yes. And to what extent, and first of all, what level are you like to engage in the beginning? So, and if you want to move from level 1 to level 2, it could be say a different this thing. So all that can be worked out on a case-to-case basis.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, please. Any other questions? So I think the program, I hope that was informative and useful, and whatever small usage you would like to use based on whatever the inputs provided, please use it so that you can definitely see the benefits of this. It's all proven tools practiced globally. And whatever small things, even from this webinar, you can take it up and then start using it so that we reap the benefits of it. That is the intention of sharing this. But yes, it's a journey. But if we would like to move to the next level, transform ourselves, these are the best practices which we need to deploy. And we can always customize to MSME level as well. So it's not that the way how it has to be used with vast experience of handling MSME, we can always customize that. We are also looking at in a different forum where to develop a MSME model itself for this business excellence and take the necessary approval as well. That's also one more project on which we are working on, probably with APCRE, where we had done the previous webinar on there we had talked about it. So that is also on, and we are also looking at something can be done for specific MSME kind of operations as well. But
Jagdish,
then it takes its own time actually. That may not happen.
An interesting example, Jagdish, maybe I can bring to attention to this group here. Now, I had been on a merger and acquisition role in our company in Tata Daewoo. Now, that's in South Korea. So it used to be hardly what 180 crore company. I mean, if you talk in our kind of terms. So that was way back in 2008 or something. So we institutionalized this process there, over a period of 3 years, and that company is now second to Hyundai, and they are increasing their global footprint in a big way. And they have adopted these, and the again, as per the cultural roots of the country as such, they get committed to implementing some of the new things that they feel that they can benefit from, and they took to it like fish in water, and they are getting results. And over a period time, over the period of time, while their market share within the domestic market share remains second to Hyundai, but they are able to increase their international footprint. So they say that they are getting a lot of benefit. And we talked about the customer angle and how crucial this customer, the entire thing of customer is. When we went there, we found that there is hardly any customer interaction of the company. It's all done by the dealership. So one of the steps, as per the model, as we went about implementing it, we set up a certain organization for customer, sales and marketing, which is a part of the organization of the company itself. They didn't have a sales and marketing setup. So their people used to interact on and off with the dealer, and the dealer was the one who was looking at the customer. Now they actually developed a customer knowledge base themselves to help them in their product development process, and that's giving them results. And they have taken the various other elements and put them into practice as well.
No, most of the MSMEs have this challenge. They may not have a separate sales and marketing team itself. That's a very common scenario in most of the MSMEs.
Yes.
Yeah, just I would like to add, most of our members also have this challenge of market reach. And once you have the orders on hand, then they will face the issues of funding. They don't know where to go and seek the funding support and how to really make it as a business case. And next is the challenge of executing this particular project and conclude it. I think the complete cycle is what any MSME has to look around and take the support of our consultants like ZDC is what we all feel is the necessity of the day.
I have a proposal for that, ma'am. Like where even if you would like to have your sales spread to US, Middle East, etc. Now we have a team of people, senior consultants associated with us, where they have that reach as well as expertise, and they have expertise in mergers and acquisitions. Probably one more part which I'm looking at is the financial. If this is something area where I'm looking at, and then I was just thinking on that, because whenever I interact with business owners, this is one thing what I find, they need end-to-end loop closing support so that they can scale up and grow their business. And this is definitely something which we need to. But if I'm clear on what is your requirement, probably if you have one meet, understand that, and accordingly we can develop something customized so that it is definitely could be a game changer for most of the MSMEs. And now that I think there's a need of an hour, we need to be ready for whatever the new, whatever has happened, there definitely the offshoot of that is there could be enormous opportunities that are going to come in way forward. But are we ready for that is something which we need to answer, and then definitely come out with some kind of a solution to that. And then whatever is required, we can also support and see to that we bring in a right resource, people, and hand-holding to see to that we achieve those goals.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Probably just one a small, you can send a mailer, you can have internal meeting and discussion, and then this is what kind of pain areas which we have got to resolve and move forward. If something is coming out, then we can create some model based on that, and also tie up with the right tools, techniques, as well as resources who can ensure that we give an end-to-end delivery. Yeah, I'm already working on it based on some requests from some very close friends of mine who are all entrepreneurs. So probably I feel now with whatever discussion the point which you triggered, that really again it was a refresher for me, where I will definitely take it up in a faster speed. Yeah, I'll come back to you with a little more model.
ಈ ಪ್ಯಾಕೇಜ್ ಏನೋ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ,
ಅದನ್ನೇ ಆತರ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು.
ಅಲ್ಲ,
ಬಟ್ ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನನ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಒಂದು ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಯಾರೋ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಅದ್ರ ಬೇಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಏನೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ನಿಮ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದನೂ ನೀವು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಿ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಟ್ರಿಗರ್ ಆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್ ಯು ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಕಳಿಸಿ, ಮೇಲ್ ಕಳಿಸಿ. ಬೆಟರ್ ದೆನ್ ಐ ನೋ I will also have some what is the expectation, and accordingly we can map up.
Okay.
That will be good, but definitely within a couple of days I'll come out with some solution for that as well.
Thank you.
Because we need to be ready for what is coming on to us, because there's a lot of support from government, as well as there's a there are some markets which are now closed for India, so we can use that opportunity. Yeah.
That is true.
So then we can conclude.
So let's look at that then. Yes.
Sure.
So thank you very much, Dr. Jagdish. Thank you very much, Mr. Subir. It was, I'm sure, very interesting for all the session. Thank you once again.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks.